guys, how's it going? So today's video is going to be a fun one. We're going to do a houseplant haul. I went down to the garden center yesterday, had no idea they were expecting new houseplants, and I arrived just as they were unloading. Like they were just finishing unloading this truck full of gorgeous plants. So I got to pick through all of these fresh new things. And you know, honestly, during the summer months, I don't think about houseplants very often because I'm so busy outside. We have so much going on out here that my houseplants, they just get neglected. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So it's a good time of year to freshen things up. I have a couple of dead ones in there I need to replace. And you know, I know what we're in for winter. We've got several months where it's gray and it's dark, and I always crave having some fresh stuff. Like, it's getting dark now at 8 p.m. I'm wearing a sweatshirt because it's that cool outside, which I do love. But yeah, it just kind of makes my brain shift, I guess, and it makes me start thinking about these again. And I've got a few that I've never grown before here, so I'm very excited. So what I want to do is run through quick everything that I brought, and then we're going to repot them and talk just a little bit more details about the ones that I do know how to take care of. So first of all, check this out. This is called a Fern Heart. This one made me stop in my tracks. I'm actually not sure I have seen one of these before. I did a little reading and it said that they really do well in terrarium situations, like enclosed containers, and not many plants like that. And they stay small, so they're really good for miniature gardens. And so I actually picked up 3 of these because they are so sweet, and their heart-shaped leaves were just awesome. And then we've got a Fiddle Leaf Fig. It looks like a little alone by itself with the one stem, but you know, Fiddle Leaf Figs aren't the least expensive plant there. So I thought maybe I should get 3 of them and put them together, but we're doing so well with the ones we do have in the house already that I thought, no, it'll be good. We'll start with this one and we'll see how it does. Anyway, these just look really cool and they're really easy to take care of. Then I've got a Ficus Elastica Ruby. Look at the variegation on these leaves. Oh my goodness. Usually you've got like burgundy and pink and cream. And I just love that it's a variation of color because, you know, we're dealing with a lot of different shades of green here. So anytime that we can find something that brings in some color like that, I gotta snatch that up. Then we've got a philodendron called Congo Rojo. This is a clump type philodendron instead of one that's gonna want to crawl and spread all over the place. Super big strappy leaves. I think I had one of, like, this particular variety was one of the very first houseplants I got when Aaron and I got married. Remember that beast, Aaron? It got big in its container. The leaves will get, like, as the plant matures, the leaves will be bigger, and it lived forever. And I even moved it, I worked at a bank for a while. I moved it into the bank next to my desk. It had no light, no natural light at all, and it survived there for a really long time. I'm not even exactly sure what the demise of that plant ended up being, but I had it for years, so I'm excited to have one again. And then I've got a Hoya called Hoya Curtisii, I think. Now, this is a Hoya I've never grown before. It looks different than the other Hoyas that I traditionally see in that it almost looks like a string of hearts. They have very small petite leaves that have heavy variegation. This one I'm excited about, and I guess it's got like some kind of unique fuzzy greenish yellow blooms that it gets, so this one will be interesting. Then we've got a bird's foot fern. I am a total sucker for ferns, but I'm not gonna lie, ferns are hard for us to take care of in our low humidity. They just are, especially like Boston ferns. They just want to drop all their leaves when you bring them inside. Bird's foot ferns and bird's nest ferns tend to do better for us. They tend to thrive in the lower humidity. So I have grown this one before. I think it has really unique shaped leaves and it's nice and fluffy, which is nice to have, you know, opposite all the bold that we've got over here. Then we've got a Marble Queen Pothos. I always just like to pick up 4-inch pothos because it's a really good size. They're not really big. I do not like the look of vining plants all over my house. Like, I don't like it when vines are, you know, cascading down over cupboards or pinned to the wall or anything like that. I like them to look compact. So even when this one starts to vine, I will probably keep it trimmed up so it stays into a tidier plant. But when I get them smaller like this, it takes them longer to do that. So they're a little less maintenance. Easier to tuck into a bookshelf or on a small side table or whatever. Then I've got a Hoya called Hoya Obovata, and I think this is more of like your common type Hoya. Isn't that crazy that these two are in the same family? Like, that is nuts to me. And they look so different. They both have very thick leaves, but this one has like the great big oval leaves with kind of the light kind of silverish variegation on the leaf, and then they get large clusters of light pink blooms. And then the very last plant is right here. This is a philodendron, also called a split leaf philodendron. Ooh, Swiss cheese plant, Monstera. I've had a little bit of a harder time appreciating this plant. I know they're super popular, but to me, like, so they start off with these bold leaves right here, and you can see there's hard water staining on this. We need to fix that if we can. And as they mature, they will start to split like this right here. That's just the nature of the plant. But for so long, I look at these like with the big holes and I just think, oh, it's got slug damage. It's like when I want to plant, when I was helping people design their landscapes and I would want to put something with yellow foliage in their garden, they were like, no, I don't want something with yellow leaves. It looks like it's dying. And I never understood that, but I get it now, because now I look at this and I'm like, slug damage. Do I really want something that looks like it has slug damage? But I don't really feel that way anymore. I've had those kinds of shifts, I guess, in my thinking. The longer I take care of plants, like some of them I will learn to appreciate a lot more. So I've actually never had one of these in my home before, and I'm excited to see how it does for us. So that is the haul right there. That's all the plants I brought home, which I think is a really good start. I've got some I need to replace inside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna repot them all. I've got terracotta here in a few different sizes. These are all used containers. I've got saucers here, and then I've also got down below me, I've got some concrete containers. I tend to like one of these two for inside, well, for everywhere. This is kind of like my pots of choice. Concrete, terracotta, iron, that sort of thing. And then I'm using a Spoma potting mix for all of them. I think all of them will do really well in that kind of blend. And then the one other thing I've got is the Leaf Shine. This is Leaf Shine and Moisture Guard. So some of these have really, like, they tend to have shiny leaves, but they're a little bit dirty right now and need a little bit of help, especially like the ones with the hard water staining. So I'll be using this just to clean them up a bit. I think we're going to speed this part up. This is all pretty routine. The only thing to know about repotting is if your pot, like the roots look severely root bound, you can kind of tease them a little bit. Typically, when you're going into repot, you don't want to pot them up into something too big. So you either want to choose a pot that's the same size or just a size, like bump it up a size bigger, because they tend to shock when they're swimming around in too much potting soil. So let's pot. I think they all look really good, and I'm excited to go place them inside. Now, I did not top dress any of the soil, so you can see here, like, it's just all open, but it's kind of a good idea to leave them like that for the first 1 to 2 weeks, so you can kind of learn about where you put it in the house and how fast the soil dries out. It gets a lot more difficult to determine water and how much water moisture that soil is holding on to if you can't see it directly. I mean, you can always do a finger test, pop your finger down in the soil and feel the moisture, or you can use a moisture meter, but it's kind of nice visibly to see that. And then I'll go through with either like small stones or moss or even small pine cones. I like to use those too as a top dress so that we don't see the soil, because I don't necessarily want to see it forever, but it's good just to gauge that moisture level. So let's start with the Fern Heart, and like I said, this is the first time I've ever had this one. But what I understand about this plant is that it can take low to medium light. Typically, if it says it's a low light plant, I tend to have the best luck if I give them just a tiny bit of light, not direct or bright, but just somewhere where it's not dark. They tend to do a little bit better for me. And this is one that you want to keep the soil fairly moist. Now, typically all of our houseplants, we do a full houseplant, almost a full houseplant watering every Monday, so once a week, except on those that want to dry out a little bit more. And then on tender ones like this, I do have a couple other ferns in the house, and we check them on Thursdays as well. So they get checked on Mondays and Thursdays just in case. It doesn't mean we water them every time, but we just go check the soil. The next one, the Pothos Marble Queen, is a super easy to care for plant, super great for beginners. In fact, I think the Pothos, the two Hoyas, the Philodendrons, and the Ficus are all pretty easy for beginners in my experience, because they don't need a lot of care from you as long as they get the right kind of light. Like the Pothos likes low to medium light, so again, I would put it in a medium light spot, not somewhere super dark. But it wants to be watered when the top 1 to 2 inches of soil dry out, which usually means about every other week. For this one, it depends on the size of pot though and where you have it. You know, some plants dry out a lot quicker if they're close to a door where they're getting a draft, or close to an air vent. Typically most plants don't like that kind of condition anyway. And then if you have them in a small pot that breathes like terracotta does, they tend to dry out a little bit quicker than in like a glazed pot, so keep that in mind. The next one, the Hoya Curtisii, so this is the other new one to me. So I guess how this one grows is that it forms a thick mat over the top, and then it really drapes over nicely. So I'm excited to see that happen. And this is another one where you want to let them dry out 1 to 2 inches between watering, so probably every other week. And this one likes a bright indirect light position. So not direct sun right in a window, but somewhere just back from that a little bit, but somewhere fairly bright. Same with the Hoya Obovata, same instructions on that one. Water when the top 1 to 2 inches of soil have dried out. Usually that's every other week for us, and they tend to do really well. And this one will cascade over the sides, not probably as strictly as this one will, but this one will also, you can put like a trellis in there and train it up a trellis if you want to do that. The next one is the Ficus Elastica Ruby. And this one, because of the variegation, to maintain the defined, beautiful variegation, it does need quite bright light in order to do that. Not direct sun though, because direct sun can scorch the leaves a little bit. So you want to have it right to where like the sun is coming in the window, but you have it bumped over to the side a little bit. So it's still getting really bright light, but no direct sun. And that way you keep this nice, beautiful variegation. This one is a little bit touchy for water. Once you get into the routine though, typically we water ours once a week. I have another one in the same family inside. Once a week watering just lightly is really good. You keep the soil kind of lightly moist, not soggy. All the time. It tends to, like this plant likes it that way. I think the number one killer of this plant is overwatering, and what you'll see is the leaves start to yellow and drop off really easy, but that also can happen with the older leaves of the plant. So, I mean, keep in mind where the leaves are coming from and what's happening. Always like kind of look at your watering as the first thing that can be going wrong, and if the soil seems too wet, back off on the moisture a little bit, but also don't let it get bone dry either. So just try to find a happy medium with this one. And like I said, it's once a week watering lightly for us. The next one, the Bird's Foot Fern, likes a low to medium light situation, and it likes to have fairly moist soil at all times. So likely I'll put this one and the Fern Heart together inside so that when I'm going around the house, I don't have to go to as many locations to keep these nice and wet. So the next one is the Fiddle Leaf Fig right here. Now, how I've been taking care of mine inside, I've got them in an east-facing window, and I do find that I need to rotate them every few weeks, and honestly, it's a good idea to rotate all your plants. That way they maintain a really nice shape and they don't reach toward the light, but it likes a lot of bright, kind of filtered sun, and it likes to have it for a good part of the day. I feel like we've got a good watering routine down with ours. We water lightly about once a week, or you can water heavier every 2 weeks. They like to be thoroughly watered to where there's even a little bit of water coming out the bottom of the pot, but they don't want to sit in it. So if any water accumulates in the bottom, make sure to pour that out. But they want to, you know, have a thorough wet down of their root system whenever you're watering them. There's a couple of signs that you can look for either overwater or underwatering. I think underwatering is probably the biggest problem. You'll start to see the edges of the leaves start to crisp and turn brown, and then the leaves will drop off really easily. And I've done it before. I had one not that long ago that did that. So we had to correct that problem. And overwatering looks fairly similar, except for you'll have the brown spots on the edges, but you'll start to see a lot of spots on the interior as well. And typically, I mean, just a quick poking your finger down in the soil or even smelling around the soil, honestly, a lot of times you can tell like, oh, that doesn't smell good. That's smelling like it's sitting in too much water. And then you can kind of correct that problem. If it's been overwatered, I'd probably repot it in fresh soil. So take it out of that soggy soil, get as much of that away as you can and put it in fresh, and then try to correct and not water it quite as often. And then on the philodendron right here, oh, and you know, I should mention, we've done a full care video on Fiddle Leaf Figs. So we'll link that down below, and I go into way more detail about temperature and humidity and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to learn more. This one right here, the Congo Rojo, like I've said, I have had one of these. It went through quite a bit of abuse and it did really well. They do usually like a bright spot though, not full sun, but bright indirect light, water when the top inch of soil dries out. And it's just like one of those things, it's really hard. I wish I could tell people, like, give this plant 1 cup of water every week or every, 5 days or every 14 days. I wish there was like a hard and fast rule for watering, but there just isn't. You just have to gauge your plants based on where you have them, what kind of pot they're in, what kind of soil they're in. And then you kind of just have to learn the signs on overwatering and underwatering on each individual type. And sometimes we kill a few plants along the way, along our journey of learning about houseplants, and that's okay. We've all done that. We've all been there. Just try again. And a lot of times I learn by doing. And so if I kill a plant once, I learn kind of what I did wrong. If I kill it again, I can adjust something else and so forth. And usually after a while, you get it. And then the Monstera here, they tend to like the same kind of things as this philodendron right here. They want bright indirect light, water when the top inch of soil has dried out, fairly easy house plant. So I would say that most of these plants here are just really easy to take care of. Whoa, I have some extra pots I knocked over just now. And honestly, if you're a chronic overwaterer, there are some of you out there that want to just like shower love on your plants all the time. Maybe choose ferns because they like that. They like to have quite a bit of water. And so those would be a perfect type of plant for you. But I would say typically for beginners or most people, we tend to err on the underwatering side of things because we don't want to do too much. So all the rest of these plants do really well for most beginners. And that's it, you guys. That is my houseplant haul for now. I'm sure we'll be bringing in more plants later, and I'll probably go into more detail on some of the care on these plants as we are spending more time inside and I'm caring for them more. So you'll probably see these resurface at some point. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one.